How do I pick the right business? That's the topic for today on the Marketing Happy Hour. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of the Dr. Vogelmann, wherever social media is consumed, and working together with John Paduchak over here in Epic Win Agency, because he's nicely put that down in his.
I have. You see that?
That was good. I should have done the same damn thing. And down below, our last minute edition.
Last second edition.
Dr. Kayvon Kay. Yeah, he came in at like 10 seconds before we're about to go.
Well, I'm on time.
Hey,
I'm here.
You are on time, and you were early. As a matter of fact, you were
There
early.
you go. There you go. Hello, everyone. This is Coach Kay, Kayvon from Simplify.zone. I help entrepreneurs implement, get things done, make things happen.
Getting things done and making things happen. Just remember, you're never alone with Simplify.zone. My voice is kind of going, which is why I can't get the lower tones right today. But now, those of you on Instagram, because we are simulcasting, trying out some stuff for this week. Those of you on Instagram, welcome to the Marketing Happy Hour. We may or may not continue to simulcast, but we'll see what happens. It's an experiment.
On
Instagram Live under Dr. Vogelmann. Yeah, just for the heck of it. Why not?
Hey.
Why not?
I would.
So this topic actually was in our list of topics that we had selected long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, which was how do you choose, how do you pick the right business? And I think that's true to a certain extent based on the pandemic and people making lots of shifts and pivots and things like that. So, I mean, I would like to actually start with John, because you made a major change in the past. You went from you were also working in digital, was it imaging?
I was.
And then you went into financial services.
Oh, gosh, man, I've been everything.
You've done everything.
I feel like.
So what made you switch from digital imaging to financial services? I'm curious,
because at the time I wanted to be in a situation where I interacted more with people. And it's not that I didn't interact enough with people where I was, but I just got tired of it. I think a lot of times we get tired of things in our career and we want to change things up a bit. Also, was a skill set that I wanted to develop. I wanted to get more into learning more about setting up my own business versus working for somebody else. And this was a real nice, smooth opportunity to do that.
So did you deliberately ask? Because I do think that asking yourself a series of questions is, what do you hate doing and what do you really like to do, is an important component of this.
Yes.
And most of us are too afraid to go deep and ask the tough questions or answer the tough questions. What do you think, Dr. Kay?
I agree. Asking some sort of question is always helpful, because sometimes even we forget to ask ourselves or other people the most fundamentals. Definitely, the more precise we are with the questions, better. And speaking of questions, I have a question for John.
Okay.
Would you do anything different?
No, I think it was a great situation for me. I had worked at a company. I had kind of an unusual path. I worked in just about every space possibly could have. I worked in R&D for a while, forward role. And so it just gave me kind of a good universal background. And it gave me a chance to really dig into my love of finance, which, I always said if I could ever do something and help people with investing and doing things with money, that would be like something I really enjoy. And I did for quite a while.
Good. I want to say hello to Cassandra, who's over on the Instagram Live. She's there. Hey, Cassandra, and also you need to come to Clubhouse later. I put the link underneath this broadcast in several different places, including the Marketing Happy Hour, John's profile, the Dr. V profile. I don't know if I can't put a link on Instagram. They don't let you have links. It's tragic. So, Dr. Kayvon, you made that change you went from medicine into coaching.
Actually, there were a few other steps in between as well.
In between? Oh, that's right. You were doing web development and things like that.
Yeah. So here's the thing, sometimes you do this out of pressure or necessity and that sort of thing. And sometimes you see a light and you follow the path and you follow what feels better, where joy is and that sort of thing. And I certainly had all of that in my process. Yes, I studied medicine and became a medical doctor, and it's not a short process. It's when I was going through it, it was a 7.5-year process. Towards the end of it, 3 months or 4 months left, I realized that I can't do this for the rest of my life. The thing is, empathy is very strong in me. So I was losing my ability to hold that emotional wall between myself and my patients. Their pain was becoming my pain. I started to have nightmares and that sort of thing. So it was clear to me that I'm not the same person who started this process, and I have changed through things. Life has its up and downs, and I realized that was clear to me that this is not something that I can sustain through time. So I might as well close that chapter. And it was like that. It was hard. It was emotional, but it was like a one-shot kind of a deal. Close that chapter, never look back. At the same time, I was interested in internet and computers and that sort of thing. And this is now, we're talking 1997, 98, internet, browser, new stuff. And I was interested in that. I was already good in proficient with computers and Microsoft Word and that sort of thing. So I started to teach myself web design, which was the obvious choice at the time, or the most, I guess, high-level choice at the time. So I did that, and I had clients. I started to develop e-commerce websites in '99. I remember a very painful conversation with the bank, trying to talk about the merchant account and keep telling them that, hey, I don't need the device. Don't send it to me. I just need the merchant account. And like, wow, how do you going to charge the cards? Anyway, so web design. So a little bit of a web page development and graphic design. I got interested. So now we're getting to the part that is about following the interest. I noticed that there are web pages that they do something. Ooh, it's called JavaScript. So I started to teach myself that. Then opened the doors to PHP programming and database and C# programming. So after a while, I was an internet programmer. I had more projects and I had to get help. And after a while, I realized, ooh, I have a business now and I'm signing paychecks. So that led to the next thing. So what is this called business or entrepreneurship? So I followed that, helped people with their online businesses. They were coming back to me with other questions. And I noticed all of that is called online marketing. So I got into online marketing and implementation of it and make that work for them. And as we were doing this, and I'm reading about business and I'm accumulating knowledge and expertise, people were telling me, hey, this conversations that we have with you, those are the most valuable part of it. And I was enjoying those conversations the most. So I basically took all of the technical parts out, kept the conversations, called it coaching. Coaching has been through a bunch of iteration itself. And long story short, going through marketing coaching, entrepreneurial coaching, productivity coaching, branding coaching, and here we are.
I love that journey, especially when you took out everything except the conversations, and conversations became coaching.
Yeah.
That's great. That's just great. Hey, so John, when you deciding for what kind of business to have, or if you're going to make a major pivot in a business, what would you recommend to people aside from asking yourself questions? I mean, are there certain assessments that you would do in terms of your own skill set, or what is the recommendation for somebody who's starting out from scratch?
I think it's important to look at businesses, well, for a couple different things. One is, the longevity of it, whether it, how it meets your goals, where it's kind of situated in the market right now. But the biggest thing that seems to always have attracted me to businesses are the ability to generate passive income. And so being able to do that and still have, money coming in while I'm sleeping or whatever, having that kind of aspect of things is really important, because you kind of reach that point where you just want to have more income rolling in and not really be having to do more work for that.
So can you explain passive income for people who have not experienced it or heard of it before? I know we talked about passive income for the RV people, but that's a whole different thing.
It's a whole well, it's the same thing.
Similar, yeah.
But it's a different outlet or a different way of looking at it. So passive income is really looking at ways that you can generate income without your active involvement. So investments are a way of generating passive income. You're investing money that then generates income for you later on. Certain royalties, there's just a lot of different ways to have that. But that's really the model, is having things come in. Internet products is a great way of doing it. Training products. People can buy your products while you're asleep. You wake up
like
the
the
next morning,
digital courses, that
like
sort of thing, where you have
digital
an
courses.
affiliate commissions.
Exactly. Affiliate commissions is another great way. You're promoting products for other people and they pay you a commission, which comes in hopefully without you doing a lot for it. So,
Right. So, Dr. Kayvon, again, another question for you, and then I just lost it.
Well,
I drew a blank.
Let's forget about you. Why don't you answer the first question about transition and all of
that? I
that?
don't even remember. Well, transition is interesting. So, I mean, I had a very a bit of a checkered career. The funny thing is, I originally started working like summers at the Buffalo Museum of Science in the Office of Development, meaning basically shaking down people for money for the museum. And then when I got into college, I started editing obituaries for Harvard Magazine. That led into display advertising assistants, then to classified advertising, and then eventually to managing a classified advertising department. And I'll tell you what, that Harvard Magazine, the classified advertising department thing, I loved that more than anything else that I was doing in school. I started, that's where I got my experience in direct mail. And I would snip out, I'd take magazines, I'd cut out little ads from Smithsonian and all these upscale type publications. I slapped it on to a letterhead of basically it was a sales letter that I'd created. Like, how would you like to reach 486,000 affluent Harvard alumni? And I would just keep mailing them out first class all the time. And so it just kept cranking and cranking. And I was paid on commission. And that was just awesome, because it was a work study program where I was making maybe $2.35 an hour. But my commission checks were like 20, 30 times that. And so I couldn't wait to finish.
You were enjoying it, or what was it?
I loved the process. I loved the marketing. I loved just sending out lots of letters and then getting stuff in return. It was just like, the feedback was really fun. And the other thing was that I think I loved the fact that I was succeeding in that and generating a lot of cash for the magazine. So they didn't mind that they were paying me big commission checks. So the funny thing is, so I wind up in psychology, then I wind up out of school taking a job as a pharmaceutical sales rep, because the only job I could get at that time with a psychology degree was working selling drugs legally on the streets of Houston, the Texas Medical Center in Northwest Houston. And then eventually I wound up in chiropractic school, because in many ways it was sort of my default position, because my dad was a chiropractor for 62 years. And then I got, after 33 years and 13,000 patients later, I find myself in digital marketing and coaching other doctors to escape the exam room forever. But it's funny, the marketing aspect takes me back to my undergraduate days, when I preferred to be working at the magazine than I did to be in classes. So there were a lot of pivots there. So the biggest pivot now is working primarily online. But it plays to strengths. I think, after you get to spend time talking and treating 13,000 people, you develop certain skills that actually do transfer into sales and marketing.
Yeah, I see that, and I agree with that. And I like how we have the overlap of strength and joy mixed in what all three of us do. So we kind of found the thing that gives us both. And it may have changed through time, but
it does change. It does change through time, because my biggest thing in practice was I love teaching other doctors. So I used to do the seminar circuit all across the U.S. and Canada back in the 90s. And that to me was tremendous, because it gave me the opportunity to perform. And I think basically, if I look back on all the patient education I did in practice and things like that, I was pretty much performing for the patients, playing the role of doctor. So it was that it's really interesting. And I think I love to talk and I love to listen. And so those consultations, having conversations with patients, I spent most of my time shutting up and listening. So what's that sound?
Motorcycle going down the road.
Oh, you've got motorcycles?
I got motorcycles.
I thought
I
it was
don't
one of my.
personally have motorcycles, but
I thought it was like another one of the F-18s that I couldn't hear. Like I've lost my hearing,
Yeah.
and then it was coming through the microphone.
yeah, I can't mute fast enough for that.
Crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So, what about if somebody needs to pivot in what they're doing? The same questions apply in terms of look at your strengths and that sort of thing. I mean, do you, and how much do you really look at the profitability of the business model when making a decision?
Even the most profitable models, if they don't meet a bunch of criteria personally for each person, it's not going to work, because it doesn't matter what the model, there is a lot of consistency and coming back to it and putting time and hour, and we don't have enough willpower or discipline to do all of that. The work needs to be attractive for us to come. So even if the business model is not the best one, but it's the one aligned with somebody's interests and joy and personality, they make it work. So I think that's one big thing to look at. At the same time, yes, there are smarter ways of doing things. For example, if somebody is going to work in a, I don't know, referral affiliate kind of a business, the one model is make a sale and get a commission. Another model is make a sale and get ongoing commission, the smaller amount.
Right.
But so the smarter way is the long-term one, because overall it pays off. So those little differences, yes, I think everybody should look into the profitability of the model. But as far as when it comes to pivot, because pivot is always is following pain, right? Something is not working, and we are, in frustration, pain, and all of that. Okay, now we need to pivot. Sometimes it's competition, sometimes it's commoditization. What's the word that I'm trying to say?
Yeah, the commoditization. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to be a commodity. You want to be unique, have a unique methodology or brand or flavor to what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to pivot, it's like that. And one of our viewers or followers on Facebook, Ben Alabaster, he made a comment on my post about this thing that he's basically his whole point was pivots and building a business or creating a business, all of that, they are following irritations. You got a problem for yourself, you want to solve that, and therefore you end up solving that for other people. Or you see a problem in the market, irritation, itch that you can scratch, and that becomes a business. So that focusing on the pain for that reason, I think it's a good criteria to look into pivot. Like you mentioned, you would do the work and make the commission, make money for the magazines. They didn't mind paying for it because you were removing some sort of a thing. So like this whole idea of implementation coach is because of the problem that I had myself. I have been solving it. I am getting better at it. And therefore I'm able to help other people. Like that question about would I do anything different? If I ask myself that, as far as what I did, I wouldn't do different. But how I did, I would implement a lot more. But I always had lack of implementation issue, which I have resolved. Things are happening now. And I'm helping other people who are doing that. So see, there was a pain or personal problem, irritation, solving it for myself, turning it into a business.
And I think that's kind of where I came into the whole thing about helping doctors get into their online businesses, because dealing with insurance companies and government regulations and cranky staff and, well, sometimes cranky patients and this whole, the escalating overhead from malpractice insurance to rents and everything else, that to me became extremely painful. And I reached a certain threshold where it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I've got my 30 plus years in, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I can't take this anymore. I have had much of those moments.
Yeah. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
That's an old reference.
Yes, it is. It's a network.
Network. One of the best movies ever.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Hey, so John, do you have anything to add to that at this point? So that I can.
No, it's funny. It's funny to listen to you guys say that. I think we all kind of reach that point where we get frustrated with whatever we were doing, like to the point that time to make a change.
Yes.
Well, how did you? What pushed you out of financial services? I'm really curious about that.
That's a long story.
Oh,
Um,
should we devote an entire marketing happy hour to that? in the
we
future?
almost could.
We
I
need
think.
to. Okay.
I think the big thing that that got me disinterested is some of the investing side. You know, you start to see what's going on in investments, and you start to feel a little bit hypocritical of what's happening.
Oh yeah.
So that was one of the things that kind of pushed me in that direction. And then one of the things that pushed me into investments was that, you know, I got tired of what I was seeing with a company I was working for. So, you know, there's many things that kind of push our button and get us moving in another direction. But usually it takes some kind of outside force to do that, right? To get you to move forward.
Yeah, I think with Dr. Kayvon, I was a Kayvon Kay. Then I saw your real name, and it was. Now I can't quite figure it out again. I'm very confused.
You just okay. My last name?
Yeah, how to pronounce it.
Usually when I get a call from, I don't know, credit card company or phone company, customer service, they say, Mr. K, don't hurt yourself. Just K.
Don't hurt yourself.
I get that too.
Yeah, because it starts with a sound, like so. So yeah, let's not do that.
Dr. K.
Yes.
Dr. K, the AOK implementation coach.
Yeah.
What you were talking about earlier about the joy, I think I studied a lot of gamification, and I did some gamification work for a couple of clients in the past. And to me, injecting fun into something is really important. And I've often maintained that if you're not having fun in business, you need to get out.
It's fundamental.
It is fundamental.
There is also something else going on in parallel, and this is my personal observation. There are some articles and stuff about it.
Yeah.
But as we go through time, and I suspect the reason is exposure. Like a few generations ago, they didn't have exposure to the rest of the world that much.
Oh, exposure.
Right now, we have exposure to everything that's happening through so few generations ago, they would get to a job, do that for 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And as we come closer to current time, it seems that people naturally switch between things. Like I'm a Gen X person, and they say for us it's about every 10 years or so we change. We go from one career to another. And
what about boomers?
I'm guessing it's somewhere between 10 and lifetime.
And 33. No, it's
so let's say 20 years or so. I don't know.
Probably,
it all depends on you know how you rigid you are in your thinking. Like with the three of us, we're all open-minded. We test everything, so we have that. So we're always behaving younger than our age.
That's true.
That sort of thing goes. So I heard millennial is every 5 years or so, because not only it's the exposure age and all of that, but also many years ago you would learn something and you become some sort of salesperson or butcher or something, and you just do that. But right now, every few years there are jobs that they didn't exist before.
True.
Like 10 years ago, we didn't have social media manager. Not everybody has it, right? Things like that. So it's, I think, as we go through or going through a whole career without having a specific thing. That's, I guess, what's going to happen to the new generation.
This reminds me of something that I heard. This was a few years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. That at that time, that the average person who was graduating from college was going to have at least 8 careers on average in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is like every 5 or 6 years or so, right?
Yeah, easily every 5 years. Yeah. Which is pretty amazing. I'm just wondering what my teenage stepson's going to be doing if he's going to have one every 2 years.
It's going to be a shapeshifter.
The Gen Z. It's like
the best thing is allow them and help them and support them on that change process. Like, because I remember this when you asked John, so how come you got out of the financial advice? Because probably because the years were up. There is nothing new in it, and
it's not exciting.
And that was the longest part of my career. I spent 26 years in the financial industry. So that was the longest piece of it.
That's a
but the lessons I learned were amazing. I got to dig into other people's businesses. I learned a lot about all aspects of business, but I think the most important thing was I just got to learn about so much about other people's business.
Well, John, what were the most profitable businesses that you saw? Because I mean, I've heard things. Some people used to say the greatest number of millionaires made in the United States are actually those who own dry cleaning establishments.
You know what? They were one of the big
most profitable.
One of the most profitable. Some of the other ones, people in different technologies, people in different trainings. One of the businesses that I worked with was an equipment company, and they did all kinds of like one thing really in the equipment world: truck springs.
There is a city, interior BC, so it's like 4 or 5 hours here from driving here, Kelowna, in BC. It has the highest number of millionaires per capita in BC.
Yeah,
and the reason, there are many wineries are over there. Many.
So we get a lot of those too.
Yeah, so
Wineries,
farming,
breweries.
it's millionaire.
Now, one thing really surprised me. So where I grew up, farming was difficult. I mean, it was really a hard slug if you were a farmer in my area. Some did super well, but generally it was a totally different farming than what I see where I live now. And so I look at tiny little farms of 45, 50 acres making, millions of dollars a year that just have figured out a lot of other ways of incorporating stuff into farming.
Are they growing pot, or what's the story?
No, so one of the farms that I think is really cool, that's really unique here, it's I don't think it really even matters to say the name of it, but it's called Red Apple Farm. They're out in Massachusetts. They have apple picking, all kinds of stuff. They have a very, very productive little farm store, and they're in a community where there's not a lot of grocery stores, so people will go out and buy their produce fresh from the farm, which is kind of cool. They also put in the brother, I think, owns a brewery in town, so they sell the microbrewed beer. They make their own cider and hard cider and all of that kind of stuff. So they just have really developed into a great distribution service, and that's pretty cool for a farm that's only like about 50 acres. It's a really tiny farm.
Yeah. And they do a lot of like cooperations and ecosystems. They do. Like, for example, for farms, they get the best equipment, but it's shared between a bunch of different farms, right? So instead of all of them have the mediocre or the cheaper ones, they get the big, expensive, high-performing equipment, and a bunch of farms share it together. Or as you said, a bunch of businesses connected together, an ecosystem amongst themselves, and they can make it work.
Now, that's interesting. Now, we have a little of that, but not a lot of that. Like, there is some farm share stuff, but here most of the farmers buy their own equipment. They have really good stuff, and but they buy all their own.
Because they want to live free or die.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also a really good rental system. If you really need a piece of equipment and you need to rent something, or you just hire somebody else who has that equipment to do that particular job for you. So
hey, we're about to wrap up. We got 2 minutes left, and I think this has really been very interesting to me, just to hear backstories of everyone. What would you, so I mean, there are certain business models like e-commerce and others. Retail is a tough nut to crack. I think the Apple, the farm, that farm store, I mean, God bless them, they're probably working 14, 16-hour days.
They're working big hours.
Yeah,
working big hours.
Yeah. But as long as they love what they're doing, I think that's the most important. Dr. Kay, anything to recommend to people, or how people can contact you? I think if they want some direction of an implementation.
I am at Dr. Kayvon Kay, so DrKayvonK, everywhere. Easy to follow. Yeah. Same handle on all of the social media, or just go to simplify.zone.
Because you're never alone.
Oh, actually, I forgot the main one. Just go to talktokayvon.com.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I need one of those.
Talktokayvon.com.
That's great. Yeah, John.
I got meetjohn.com.
There you go.
Meet John.
I do. Somewhere I have meetjohn.com. I haven't set it up to anything yet, but so don't go there looking for me yet.
No, at one point I had Christopher.live, but I let it die. So yeah, and now somebody wants thousands of dollars for it. So
yeah, that's what happens.
Forget that. So we're going to head over to Clubhouse shortly. I have put the link in several different places. If you have any other questions or if you have comments or suggestions for topics that you'd like us to cover, please put them down below this video wherever you consume your audiovisual products.
Yes.
So we're going to head over to Clubhouse shortly here. Please come back again next week. If you like us on YouTube and you enjoyed this video, or if you're watching, please put the hashtag replay. And we'll be back again next week at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye for now. See